Hello and welcome to our virtual Lunch and Learn today. We'll be talking about Dynics ICS Defender. My name is Rachel Green and I'm the Digital Communications Specialist here at McNaughton-McKay Electric Company. And presenting for us today will be Paul Brown, Solutions Project Engineer out of our Madison Heights, Michigan location. Ready to answer your questions out in the comments today is Kaz Viscontis, Systems Engineer out of our Flint, Michigan location. Feel free to enter your questions in the comments as we go along, and we'll have a Q&A portion at the end for Paul to answer those in more depth as well. We'll be getting started shortly, but we'd like to allow a few minutes for attendees to join us. As you come in, let us know where you're tuning in from in the comment section. You can view recordings of previous virtual Lunch and Learns on our YouTube channel under the Virtual Lunch and Learn playlist, and we cover a new topic every Wednesday at noon, so be sure to join us on your lunch break. Hi, Kaz, I see you out there. Our specialist, Kaz, is available to chat with you in the comments section as Paul talks to us about how Dynics ICS Defender helps meet both your OT and IT needs. If you'd like to reach out afterward, or if you have further questions for Paul, you can send us an email at macandmaclive@mc-mc.com. Just be sure to let us know which session you attended. We'll have that email address on the screen at the end of the presentation for you as well. Hi, Tom. Hi, Leanne. See you out there in the comments as well. All right, it looks like we are ready to get started here. Paul, I'll pass it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Rachel. Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I'm going to do a high-level overview on ICS Defender and how it can help you protect your controls networks. We're going to start our agenda today. I'm going to start with a brief history of control networks, the impact that the concept of Industry 4.0 will likely have on control networks, why you should use ICS Defender in your control networks, use cases for ICS Defender, ICS Defender product offerings, and the licensing structure for the software. We're going to start with a brief history of control networks yesterday and today. Historically, control networks used different media types for their communications than our traditional IT and enterprise networks. Data Highway Plus, Remote I/O, running on what was referred to as Blue Hose, DeviceNet, ControlNet, and other control networks. These networks were historically low bandwidth, requiring detailed traffic calculations during network design to ensure that all your cycle times were properly met. These networks were also physically isolated by the media type. You couldn't just simply plug in your laptop onto one of these networks without a specific type of card to allow your laptop to communicate on these devices. So not anybody could just walk up with their laptop and plug their Ethernet cable in and be on the network. Because of the limited bandwidth, there wasn't a great deal of data sharing back in those days. Today's control networks, they are run on the same physical media as enterprise networks, that being Ethernet. With Ethernet comes a much higher bandwidth, and less attention has been paid to doing the calculations to ensure that you're not exceeding your cycle times due to the traffic on the network. A simple analogy would be the old networks had the throughput of, say, a garden hose, and now we have the capability of a fire hose. We're also no longer physically isolated by media type. As I said earlier, anybody can take their laptop, plug it into a switch that's on your control network, and now your laptop is on that network. Also, if your maintenance staff makes a mistake and plugs an Ethernet cable between a switch on your IT network and your control network, now your traffic from your IT network is now capable of going onto your control network, which could cause issues with your timings and with that excess traffic. With this increased bandwidth, we also have more demand for data sharing, statistics, remote configuration, and management asking for more reporting. And the next step in today's control networks is the concept of Industry 4.0. And now we'll go and talk about some more history. When Ethernet was introduced for control networks, a lot of the early implementations were exact copies of the older networks. So much so that they even used the same color cable that you used for data highway and remote I/O being blue. So you had blue Ethernet cables to distinguish the fact that that cable was for a control network. Over time, with the introduction and expansion of product offerings on the Ethernet control networks, there has been a demand for access to the data available on the control networks, which has increased the complexity of the control networks. Also, the addition of remote I/O capability, or distributed I/O capability, I should say, through an Ethernet cable has added to the complexity of these networks. And all of this ultimately is going to lead to the concept of Industry 4.0. Industry 4.0 is the information-intensive transformation of manufacturing and related industries in a connected environment of big data, people, processes, services, systems, and Internet of Things enabled industrial assets with the generation, leverage, utilization, and actionable data and information as a way and means to realize smart industry and ecosystems of industrial innovation and collaboration. All right, I have to take a break after that, but we should all take a minute to let that statement sink in and just think about the stress and the complexities that is going to add to our control networks, which, as I stated earlier, have traditionally been minimalistic and simple to basically protect them from the outside environment. Now we are bringing the outside environment into our control networks. So this is where we're going to see where the ICS Defender can fit in and help us manage and protect the information that is on our control networks. The impact of Industry 4.0 on control networks. The advent and adoption of Industry 4.0 has the potential to bring an incredible leap forward in manufacturing technologies, while at the same time, Industry 4.0 exponentially increases risk to our organizations through poor or non-existent control system security. As I stated earlier, traditionally, we have tried to isolate our control networks, and that has been our form of security. Industry 4.0 is networking and connectivity on an unprecedented scale. To take advantage of Industry 4.0 initiatives and technology without putting your organization at risk, we need something to help protect us. And this is where the ICS Defender comes into play. We need to protect our associates' safety, protect our equipment safety, protect our intellectual property, and protect our production schedules to make sure that we don't have any unnecessary downtime, we don't injure any of our employees, we don't damage any of our equipment due to either a malicious act coming in from the outside or even an accidental introduction of unnecessary network traffic that could cause issues in how our machine operates. So why would we choose an ICS Defender? And what does the ICS Defender do for us? Okay. ICS Defender seamlessly interacts with the existing IT systems and standard corporate networking technologies, while at the same time, it is industrially capable to understand and manage real-time manufacturing networks such as Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP, and others. The major features of the ICS Defender. It has an easy-to-use web user interface for configuration with wizards, rather than command line based commands where you need to remember the syntax and type out the command. Everything is in a wizard that we are pretty well used to using on our PCs whenever we do any kind of configuration there. It offers deep packet inspection of industrial protocols, so we can limit the traffic that comes from the IT network to the controls network by simply saying we only want to see Ethernet IP pass through this device. That's one way you could configure it. It's full-featured, highly configurable intrusion prevention and intrusion detection capability. This uses known threat patterns through deep packet inspection, and it will block those threats from coming in, as well as log them and keep statistics on what it is seeing. It's capable of NAT routing, network address translation. It is capable of redundancy, where you could have two ICS defenders working together as a master and a backup. If the master fails, the backup will be the fail-safe and take over. Remote access using virtual private networks. I'm sure in the last 2 years, with all the work from home that everybody has been doing, you have experienced logging in through a virtual private network to get into your corporate network to do your job. So that most people should be fairly familiar with that. Asset detection and monitoring to identify devices on the network, including the manufacturer of the device, the rev, the serial number, and other details that that device broadcasts on the network can be collected, stored, and reported out so that you know exactly what devices are on your control network. It is fully capable of integration into your existing IT infrastructure. It's capable of being deployed in a non-connected environment. As I said earlier, in the past, we have tried to isolate our networks. If you still have a network that is isolated, an ICS Defender can be used to monitor the traffic that is on that network, provide reports, and also do your asset collection of devices on that network so that you can better manage it. Easy to use diagnostics, third-party API and integration to higher level packages such as asset management packages, automatic rule creation via learning and traffic analysis through deep packet inspection, fleet deployment of rule sets and aliases with centralized backups. This screen and diagram is showing you how an ICS Defender would be deployed between an IT and an OT network. As you can see in the middle there, the ICS Defender provides the physical connections between the IT network and the OT network. On the top there, you see the cyber threat intelligence that is fed into the intrusion prevention, intrusion detection engine. Through the use of deep packet inspection, you can isolate, identify these threats, block them from passing one way or the other. Through your web console, your cyber security console through a web interface allows you to manage your rule sets, your policies, automated rule sets and audits, reporting and alerting. Again, this is a web-based interface that you can get to from any PC that would be on either side of the ICS Defender. Okay. ICS Defender allows you to isolate networks. In this example, we're showing some servers up on the IT space where servers can access plant assets in a controlled manner via routing, NAT, or VPN. Control the allowed industrial protocols using deep packet inspection. As you can see there in the middle, the ICS Defender is connected to a switch in the IT space and to a switch in the control space. And all traffic that flows between those two goes through the ICS Defender. And depending on how you have the ICS Defender, will define what traffic goes through and how you're managing that traffic through that connection point. Now, this screen is an example of the reporting that is available out of the intrusion detection and prevention engine. As you can see, we can display your threats in a pie chart. We can display them in just a table format, and we can also do them in a time-based line chart that shows you the peaks and valleys during the time frame when these threats are happening, to allow you to do further analysis of what may have been happening at that time. So that's just an example of some of the reporting. Now, from an asset detection and monitoring, this is a simple one-page report showing that there are 3 devices that were found on this particular network. As you can see, it identifies the MAC address, the MAC vendor identification, the IP address. It also will tell you information about the operating system the device is running. It'll pull the computer name. It can pull the product serial number if it's available, the product name, the product code, the revision level. And all this information can be used for your asset management system. It can also be used to audit to make sure that you don't have anything on your control network that wasn't previously accounted for, and allows you to plan your backup strategies to make sure that every device on your network has a backup plan. And this is your master list of what's out there and an audit of what is out there. Network address translation, or NAT. In a NAT environment, as you can see here down at the bottom, we have 6 devices, and we're showing you that the IT space, each device has a unique IP address assigned to it in the IT space. And then in the controls space, it has a unique address assigned to it in the control space. So there is a one-to-one relationship in this NAT example. The ICS Defender manages that with a table where you set up the table, and when a packet is seen on the IT side with the IT side address, the table will translate that to the control side IP address and pass it on. And the devices on either side, they are actually only seeing they are sending that to the IP address of the ICS Defender. In NAT routing, there is no authentication or security for a NAT connection, and many NAT devices allow traffic through with no control. That meaning, obviously, you have your table there that allows what IP addresses can flow through, but beyond that, there is no checking done to tell whether that, other than that packet being known on both sides of the ICS Defender, there's no checking done to determine if there's any malicious intent in that packet. In a virtual private network, as I stated earlier, for the last 2 years, we've probably all become very familiar with VPNs when we're accessing our corporate facilities or our corporate networks from home. So in this example, what's happening is your computer is sitting on a computer is sitting in the IT space. It's identified with access capabilities through a VPN, and it operates as though it's actually on the control network. As you can see here, it's going to access all those devices with the 192.168.200 address and not with the address of the 10.x.x.x. There are certificates, authentication, and user control that is done in the ICS Defender to allow this process to happen. Now I'll go through some use cases for the ICS Defender. In this first use case, this is simply using a smart data diode, allowing traffic to only flow in one direction. Traffic is allowed to flow out of the control network, go up and do some analytics in the cloud or on site on the corporate network for some analytics and data. And again, then the little pop-up there, data is only allowed to move in one direction. So essentially that protects outside threats from coming into your control network. Now in this example, we are using the plant or enterprise network to connect two lines together, to allow these two lines to share production information through NAT routing by identifying the one-to-one mapping of IP addresses from one network to another, or through a VPN setup where only data between these two systems are allowed to pass through the ICS Defender. This control can allow only industrial protocols to pass through, blocking all other types of packets. And this allows you to use the existing network infrastructure in your plant to communicate between two separate lines without having to have that connection done through your control network. This is a similar setup as the previous slide. It's just showing it in a different graphic. And one thing I like to point out on here is that we're saying this can be done through the WAN or the internet. So this could connect two lines that are physically in different buildings. And in this example, this is accomplished by using one of the ICS Defenders as a VPN server and the other one as a VPN client. So this will allow us to securely communicate over the internal corporate network, or even out on the WAN between two physical locations. Now here we have a use case for corporate support. Internal, this is assuming in this picture that this is a corporate headquarters or something of that like, where you have a support staff located in North America, and they are able to log in and support various locations throughout the globe through the use of an ICS Defender at each one of the locations, including one at the corporate office. And all that would be managed through defining user IDs, defining what users have access to what facilities throughout the globe. And this next slide, this takes it one step farther. And we're showing external access. So again, this is going back to what we have all experienced over the last 2 years, using a VPN to call into the, or to, not, I shouldn't say call in, but we'll say tunnel in to the corporate router, or in this case, a centrally located or virtually located ICS Defender. So you can access that from home. Once you're into the central ICS Defender, how you have that configured will allow certain users access to certain areas of the company. This is also a way that you could allow your vendors to remotely support a tool that they installed in one of your locations. Again, you would have to configure all that so that they would access with a user ID, and based on the user ID and how it's configured, would tell them that they could access the facility in Europe they installed, and as well as not allow them to access the facility in South Africa that they were not involved with. So it's all control and secure, and you can have either your own workers working from home, or you can have a vendor call in and support in a secure manner throughout the globe. Now, this use case is for asset management support. So this allows you to support your asset management systems by providing an audit trail to allow you to know what's out there so that you can set up your backup systems and ensure that you have accounted for every device on your control network. Make sure that it is in your asset management system. Make sure it's backed up on a regular basis. And as the comment on the left side says, no solution will stop every attack, or it may not even be attack. It could be a regular equipment failure, but you are protected by having a backup strategy in place. So every system that you have, you need to have a backup and recovery strategy in place, whether it's protecting you from, in this case, the evildoer looking to do harm, or just a simple power spike that took out a piece of equipment. You are protected with the backups that you have in place and your recovery plan. That is a key part of any control network that should be accounted for. And the ICS Defender gives you the ability to verify that you have all the devices on your network covered by identifying them through the process of collecting the asset management. Now we'll go into the product offerings, both from a hardware and software licensing standpoint. Dynics pretty much has 3 levels of product. You have the small IP20 DIN rail mount products that you would put in a cabinet with your traditional networking gear. They have the IP65 on machine device, and they have the computer room rack mount devices. In the small profile IP20 in cabinet devices, they have 3 levels of product. The entry level product being the Defender Nano, which comes with 2 copper-based network interfaces, 24-volt power. This is the product that you would use for simply connecting one control network to your IT network. The next level of product is the Defender Mini. Like the Defender Nano, this has an additional 2 network interface ports, and those 2 ports are exchangeable, pluggable, where you could, rather than having all copper RJ45 ports, 2 of the ports are configurable, where you can slide in adapters, where you could have you could have 4 copper ports, or you could have 2 fiber ports, either single or multi-mode. And again, this is 24-volt DC power. The Defender XL allows you up to 8 network interfaces, and 2 of those are of the swappable variety. So you have your fiber connections, and you have 6 fixed RJ45 copper ports, and again 24-volt DC power. Now this is on to what they call their specialty products. And we'll start on the left-hand side. with the 19-inch traditional computer room rack equipment. These are powered by 120 to 240 volt AC, which is typical in a computer room environment. There are two configurations, one being a single ICS Defender and the other being a double ICS Defender. Obviously, in a computer room environment, if you chose the double, you would probably be planning to use that for in a redundant type situation, and it is available in one convenient product. Then over on the right-hand side, we have the ICS Defender, or the Defender IP65, which is IP65 rated. You can bolt this right onto the fence of your machine. It provides you 4 network interfaces, either X-coded or decoded M12 connections. X-coded being your 1 gigabit and decoded being your 10100. And again, this is a 24 volt, 4-pin mini connection for power. And now we will go on to our licensing structure. All of the products that we previously went through from a hardware standpoint are capable of running all 5 of these levels of licensing. The first level of licensing is the basic NAT router functionality with firewall. So that has your general ICS Defender functions, has your network address translation, and your firewall functionality. The next step up, the remote, that adds your virtual private network, and enterprise or local certificate management, user management, dynamic host configuration protocol, allowing you to dynamically assign IP addresses, your captive portal. And quickly, if you ever logged in to a restaurant or a coffee shop's access point, you're going to be presented with a screen that says, do you accept my T's and C's to get on? That's what a captive portal is. And it can be as simple as that, but more than likely you're going to require some kind of user ID or authentication at that point to get in any further. Since we definitely want our control network a little more secure than an internet cafe. And then, of course, this also provides domain name system services. And then the next level is the Lite without deep packet inspection. So this adds the scheduler functionality, and the scheduler allows you to set priorities for different packet types and protocols, how quickly you want them to pass through the ICS Defender, so you can put priority on certain types of packets, network time protocol, and packages. And then the next level is Lite with deep packet inspection. Again, deep packet inspection allows you to look beyond just the IP header. So that allows you to do more analysis of the packet, looking for known identified threat patterns, allowing only specific protocols to pass through. Example I mentioned earlier, if you are an Ethernet IP on your control network, you may want to just simply set the ICS Defender up to only allow Ethernet IP packets to pass from your IT network into your OT network. And then finally, the last licensing option is the Pro, which gives you all the capabilities of the ICS Defender. This adds dynamic domain name system services, some extra services, Traffic Shaper. Traffic Shaper is similar to Scheduler, but a little more advanced. It will allow you to define how much bandwidth you want to provide to certain protocols or different types of packets. And then finally, we have the hot standby or failover, which will allow you to use 2 ICS Defenders as a redundant system. So if the master fails, it will fall over to the backup in real time. And that takes us to our Q&A, Rachel.
Great, thank you, Paul. We don't have any live questions in the chat right now, but we'd like to give a few minutes for anyone that's been waiting to ask those questions. Feel free to drop them in the chat and I will read them out for Paul to answer. In the meantime, I'd like to remind you, as always, you can reach out to us at that email address in the bottom left of your screen, mcmclive@mc-mc.com. And why don't we go over just a couple questions that customers might have regarding ICS Defender. One of them might be, why would I select one hardware platform over another?
Well, obviously price is going to be one consideration. They are priced according to their capabilities, number of ports they have. Second is going to be what your network complexity is. If you're just doing a one ICS Defender for one control network, so you would probably go with the Nano. If you want to use an ICS Defender to connect from your IT network to multiple control networks, you may choose one of the other products. And then, of course, there's the IP65 if you want to mount it on the fence and make your connections without having additional protection of a cabinet. And then, of course, your computer room installation with the 19-inch rack mount options.
Great. And are all licensing models available on all hardware platforms?
Yes, they are. That was a simple one. That was an easy question I put out there.
Great. Well, again, if you are watching this as a recording, or if you're just thinking of a question right now, feel free to send that over to the email address there on the screen, and just be sure to let us know the title of this session. We'll get your question over to Paul so he can respond to you. Thank you for this presentation, Paul. It's great information. Thank you to Kaz for being our resource out in the comment section. And thank you to all of our live viewers for your time here today. We hope this session was informative and engaging for you. Remember to subscribe to the McNaughton-McKay YouTube channel for more industry content, and we look forward to seeing you live again soon. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.